All right, looks like we're going live right now on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube for the Magnolia Shine. If you want to leave any questions in the chats, please do so. So, I'm going to let people kind of jump on here for just a second, but I hope you guys are all having a great night. Weather was pretty tough yesterday, but you know what? Not so bad today. Just a little bit windy. Again, just kind of let people gonna get onto the site right now. Just make sure that those first people checking in can get on. I know we did 7:15, but some people are gonna be a little late, so just gonna let them kind of work our way on to the stream. All right, and then we're gonna share this into the Magnolia Sports page. Boom. All right. All right. Hope everyone's having a great night. We were supposed to have Rion Young, but looks like Rion Young bailed on us tonight. He's been ghosting my texts and my calls. But you know what? I promised you guys a high school football, baseball, girls basketball, boys basketball show tonight. So that's what we're going to give you. So it's just going to be me, but it's mainly going to be you guys as well, because I'm going to want you guys in this chat for these on Facebook specifically, to send me some texts in and some chats in, just so that I have some idea of what you guys want to talk about tonight as well. But what I want to start off first is the biggest news today was actually, and I'm going to share my screen with you guys here for a second. Let's go here. We're going to share the screen. All right. So we're going to share the screen right here for a moment. And we're going to show you, go to my Facebook real quick. All right, biggest news today. Biggest thing, and by far the biggest thing, is that Ashton McGee, South Jones, commits to play basketball at Kansas State, and that's a major signing. Now, that was probably his best option. He says he had Ole Miss, he had some New Mexico, and then he had Bethune-Cookman, a few others. But this was the biggest thing for him today, was that Ashton McGee, who I don't know if you guys have seen him play yet, he is unbelievable. I'm actually going to pull up right now some of his highlights for you guys, just to kind of give you guys an idea of how good this Ashton McGee is at South Jones. All right, which I just figured out how to share the screen, so bear with me for a little bit here. All right, so Ashton played at South Jones his freshman year. Show off some of the highlights right here. Between the legs, dunks. I mean, this guy is as good as it comes in the state when it comes to athlete. I argued he was actually the best dunker this year. Very impressive. Needs to work a little bit on that shooting, but again, one of the most impressive guys that we've seen coming through this state. Probably the best athlete in this state. I think, Fleming over at Canton was the #1 recruit. He's going to Mississippi State. Mike Williams, I believe, was #2. He's going to Jack State, which shout out to Jack State for getting him and Simmons from Boonville. I mean, Jack State getting a couple of the top 5 players in the state for basketball. I mean, look at Mo Williams recruit over there. So very impressive for Jackson State. And then also happy for Ashton McGee, who, like I said, I mean, some of these dunks are just ridiculous. I mean, alley-oops. I mean, we even saw one at the Coliseum here recently. Sadly, they lost in the Final Four, but it's part of it. But I want to bring in, before we move over to football here, basketball rankings. And this was one of the big things for me. As we move over to Mississippi Gridiron, shout out to Mississippi Gridiron, Chris Brooks, and Brandon Shields. Thank you guys for everything that you do. You guys do a lot for us, and I couldn't appreciate this anymore, the fact that you guys put out these rankings, put out these schedules. I wish there was a place, like a centered place, where we could find schedules and have schedules, but sadly we don't. And I know Scorebook Live, we used to have that, but then after they started acting a fool and cutting people, I'm not going to name names, that was bad. All right, let's look at the top 10 rankings from Brandon Shields. I generally agree with these, actually. Germantown, I think we all have to agree. Germantown was the best basketball team that we watched all year, and I don't think it was all that close, actually. I know some people had Pascagoula #1 at one point. I never did. That's just me. That's just me personally. I thought Germantown had 4 Division I players, and the best player in basketball. I thought Mike Williams was actually the best player in the state last year. Maybe Fleming, you could go with him, or Simmons at Boonville again, but Germantown was the best. Now here's where it gets a little tricky. Although Coach McIntyre told me his team was number 1. Ridgeland number 2, Pascagoula number 3, Boonville number 4, Olive Branch 5, and then we see some of the lists down here. I'll show you some of the others, and then we got Jackson Prep rounding out the top 10. All right. So here's what I think. I think the second best team is Ridgeland. However, I think Boonville was actually the third best team I saw all year. And yes, I know that they're a 3A team, but I thought that they just, I mean, with Simmons, and then I forgot the kid's name. I'm sorry for the tall 6'7" kid on Boonville. That kid was phenomenal as well. But looking at this list, I was pretty much happy with this. I thought it was interesting that he had Starkville number 2 and Madison number 3, especially because Madison got to play in the finals and beat Starkville. But again, fair enough. This was a little weird that the 6A rankings were a little bit different than the rest. I wasn't sure about that. And then I thought this was very interesting. Holmes, who not many people had getting to the finals, taking out South Jones, who was 30-3. I mean, that was a really good run by them. We're moving down 4A. It's weird. Raymond wins 4A, and when we go back up here, they're nowhere in the top 10. I think that's crazy, too. I think Raymond was one of the top 10 teams. Morton, shout out to my Morton people. I'm sorry. I did not pay the refs. All right, come on. Can't keep doing that. Can't keep doing that to me. All right, 3A, 2A, Bay Springs, wonderful season. Pelahatchie, shout out to them. Bogachit has got to be kicking themselves. I thought they really had a chance to win it all. And Coffeyville, which, if you guys go to my TikTok, which is at magnolia.shine.podcast, you can always go follow that TikTok. You guys got to go check out the Coffeyville story. It is a wonderful story about Sally. They had one of their players that passed away. Matter of fact, why don't we do this? One of my good friends at the Clarin Ledger, here we go. We're gonna move over pages. Wrote a wonderful story about this, which I thought was really neat. How Coffeyville's first MHSAA state basketball championship in 68 years was spurred by memory of teammate. I'm going to read this out loud to you guys because this was, again, I thought this was just like the best story of the weekend, and it really wasn't talked about enough. I was there for it, so it was very emotional watching it happen. But it was a reminder in the back of Stanford Spearman Jr. and Coffeyville's mind heading into Friday's championship game, the loss of their teammate Quintarian Uno Smith last summer. So they had a teammate that actually passed away. And if you go to my TikTok, you can actually see when they win the championship, they have number 1 up there for the teammate. And this is what Spearman said. Since we had one of our teammates pass away, everything we did, all that was for him. Spearman said while saying Smith was one of his best friends. It ain't about ourselves no more. It's about him. So that was just a wonderful, and I know a lot of people talking about Coffeyville winning since the 50s. I think winning for their friend that passed away, sadly, it was a car accident. I think he was hit by a car, sadly. Don't quote me on that one as well. It actually says it a little bit here. Yes, he was struck by a car in July of 2024. So that Coffeyville community, again, I thought that was arguably the best thing that we saw all week. All right, don't forget, guys, go down in the bottom of the chat. So I'll show you guys this real quick just so that I can show you. Please, I'm going to refresh this page. Please ask some questions because I'm one of those people that wants questions about the show. I want people to ask questions so that you're a part of the show, because the most important thing about this show is you guys. This show doesn't run without you guys, so you need to post some questions. I know we got some people on the live stream right now. Let's see if I'm going to go over to Twitter real quick as you guys are looking over at that Facebook. We're going to go to my Twitter here real quick, see if anyone's commented. No, but we got a few people on the live stream. All right, so let's move over to football here, because I know that's what everyone here comes to talk about. Football by far. All right, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to go back to my final rankings of the MHSAA season, which had, I'm going to read this through for you guys, Tupelo, Brandon, Grenada, Hattiesburg, Madison, Picayune, Warren Central, West Point, Poplarville, Louisville, Starkville, Choctaw County. Now, maybe Rion didn't want to show up because he was still sad about the Louisville loss to Poplarville last year, which I wish I could have done a live stream after that game, because that Keys kid over at Poplarville, I'm telling you, if you guys haven't seen him yet, he's got to be the kid that you guys need to go check out. There we go. Poplarville's Hornets defense. Someone's shouting it out. Thomas, thanks for the note, because I know you guys were asking for Poplarville. So let's talk about that. Their defense did really show up because Louisville's got a great running back. He's young too. The running back at Poplarville and the running back at Louisville, I mean, that's a state championship game year in and year out for at least the next, I guess, 3 years. I got to think that those are the two teams that are going to be in that level. All right. So let's go back to these rankings here. I think it's pretty obvious. Let's talk about Tupelo at first. One, they returned pretty much practically their whole team, which is pretty nuts to think about because, you know, one of the knocks on Tupelo in the past few years was that, you know, they seemed to choke when things didn't go well. Well, sometimes when you get over the step of, whoa, we're undefeated, and then something always seems to happen, when something like that, when you finally get past that, that's when you start to rip off championships. They are the overwhelming favorite. Now, everyone wants to talk about Brandon. Brandon's the number one team going into every single year. And I always joke with Coach Sam Williams that, you know, every time I go to his preseason practice, he goes, are you going to ask me the same question? Yes, I'm going to ask you the same question. How are you going to get over the hump? Brandon is in the spot that Tupelo was in for the last few years, which is, how are you going to get over the hump? What are you going to do to finally win a championship? It's unbelievable to me that Brandon has never won a championship before in football. That's nuts. I believe, don't quote me on this one, I believe they actually have the most players that have ever played in the NFL, and yet they still do not have a championship. It's absolutely bizarre. I mean, it's nuts. Those are the two best teams in 7A. Although I think Starkville's going to have a shot. Madison's always going to be solid. You gotta say that. Now, here, these two right here, the 6A schools. All right, 6A changes a little bit this year with the new teams and new divisions. Both these teams are going to take a little step back, I think. I think Grenada, obviously champions in their own right. You got to say that was a great year, but at the same time, I think they are going to take a little bit of a step back. Someone just said Tupelo versus Brandon week 1. I mean, what more could you ask for? I mean, sorry, we're talking about Grenada and Hattiesburg, but let's go back to that for 1 second. Tupelo Brandon week 1. Are you kidding me? Could we have week 1 and then the final week of the year, early December? I love that. I love when stuff like that happens. So would love to see those two teams play again. I mean, those are the two best teams, no doubt. I mean, you never know what's going to happen. Turned ankles, ACLs on those turfs. You never know what's going to happen. But yeah, Grenada, they're going to take a little step back. However, I don't think they're going to take as big of a step back as Hattiesburg. Hattiesburg has lost a lot of players. Now, they do return Keys. And if you guys don't know who Tristan Keys is, it's time that you learn who Tristan Keys is. He's a 5-star. He is a supreme athlete that plays for Hattiesburg. Wide receiver, plays a little bit defense too as well, corner. And he's unbelievable. He's actually ranked on On3 as the 3rd best player in the country. Cam Akers was number 7. And we all remember how good Cam Akers was. So check them out. All right, Madison's going to be really good again. You can count on their defense being really good. Picayune, I'm not as familiar with them. If somebody is familiar with Picayune, please reach out because I'd love to know what your guys' thoughts on them are, because I'm not familiar with Picayune, aka New Orleans Metro for people in Jackson. So moving on, let's go down these lists. Here's one of the scariest teams I think going into next year. I think Warren Central is really scary. I think 6A's got to watch out for Warren Central. They're used to playing in the mud, but I think they got a couple more athletes this year, and I think they're going to be one of the contenders. So Warren Central, shout out to them. I think they're absolutely going to be there at the end. West Point, I mean, are you kidding me? I don't care who's coaching that team. They've had several coaches throughout the year. They're going to be good. They're going to be good. And then Poplarville, Louisville, we talked about those teams. And then shout out Choctaw County. They're going to have to replace a lot as well. Any matchups that you guys are looking out for? If you want to reach out into the chat, of course, please send some messages. I want to know if there's any games that you guys are looking forward to this next year because we got some good ones. Like you said, Tupelo Brandon's really good. And I'm sure there's some other ones. I'm going to do this right now, though, because I think this is really important for our discussion right here. Here we go. All right. So we're going to go to the reclassifications because although and we'll get to baseball in a second here, but let's see if we can find football here for the new football regions. All right. This is what I want. Okay. So we're looking at 7A. 7A looks generally the same as last year, but I heard that 6A is a little bit different. Let's see. This is 2025. All right, let's go down here. All right, Lake Conrad. All right, this is interesting. So it moves into 6A. Who else moves into 6A as I'm looking at this list? Please reach out again, guys. Remember, I'm doing this solo tonight, so Jim Hill there. Jim Hill? Oh, how about that? Jim Hill's back in it. And I think, yep, Murrah's back playing football as well. Good for the JPS schools getting back in it. Really excited to see those kids get to play in the MHSAA. And I thought Murrah actually had a pretty solid team last year. I would have loved to have seen the Murrah kids actually get to compete in that as well. All right. We got a text on Twitter. Let's see. Great recap. Did the winning team bring pizza to celebrate, or are they just saving it for the trophy presentation? I don't even know how to answer that. We're moving on. All right, Class 5A. See if there's anything too different here. West Point. Oh, okay. West Point, Pontotoc, New Hope. Man, West Point should win that. Let's go down a little bit. Provine, Lanier Holmes, Florence. This is kind of interesting. Oh, Purvis. Purvis and Summerall go up to 5A. That's interesting. Go down to 4A. You know, if there's a team in 4A other than Louisville and Poplarville, I gotta say, I think Clarksdale could be really good. Clarksdale right there. They're in Region 3. I don't see Ripley, Rosafort, Senatobia. I mean, Clarksdale should be the number one out of their region next year. And that might actually set up a path where they maybe play a Louisville to go to the state championship. That's going to be really interesting. I think Clarksdale could be a very, very interesting play in 4A, talking about them. Otherwise, 4A is looking a little soft. Not super soft, but a little soft. All right, down to 3A. Okay. Oh, Pisgah moves up. Interesting. St. Andrews right there. All right. Well, we get the point. Raleigh's up there. All right. So enough football tonight. Again, we're not going to be on super long, but remember, please write some questions in. It'll help me out as well. All right. This is what I want to do. Let's go to baseball for a second. All right, we're moving over to Mississippi Baseball Fans Twitter. If you haven't seen this guy, this is relatively new, this guy's Twitter, Mississippi Baseball Fan. If you want to check out baseball news when it comes to MHSAA, you got to check out this guy, Mississippi Baseball Fan. Really interesting. Great follow. Don't know who it is because, of course, it's not a burner page per se, but it's an unknown person that is doing it. Shout out, because before we even get to his rankings, because he has a really good ranking system, I want to give some credit to Jarvis Woody of Ridgeland, who actually threw a no-hitter against Brandon. Brandon won the 7A title last year. And I understand that they aren't the same team, although they have Jay McQueen, who's going to be playing college baseball, if not get drafted by the MLB. And Jarvis Woody goes out there, 2 walks, 7 innings, no hits, 9 Ks. Just a masterful performance. Talk about it being a really good week for Ridgeland baseball. All right, let's go down. MAIS has been doing really good against MHSAA teams. MHSAA, you got to step up a little bit there. All right, let's go down to his rankings. All right, here's his rankings right now. No doubt, Magnolia Heights is the number 1 team. They've gone out of state and won games. Very impressive. Purvis has the 2 brothers. I think they could both be drafted to the MLB. The 2 Parker brothers, very impressive. If you want to go see 2 kids, one that's going to Mississippi State, or I guess they're both probably going to Mississippi State. But they could get drafted by the MLB. Prep, number 3. Lewisburg, back at it. Hartfield. Look at a lot of MAIS teams he's got on this. Even Columbia Academy, who's not a massive school. That's really interesting. Ooh, okay. Somebody just reached out and said Caledonia will struggle in 5A. Poor Caledonia. Are you a Caledonian fan? Who just said that? Let's see. Caledonia. Rod with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers logo. Interesting. All right, back to baseball here for a second. It's really interesting when it comes to baseball. So we got a bunch of MEIS teams, but let's stick with the MHSAA tonight, just since we're running out of time here a little bit. How wide open 7A is this year. I think Germantown's really good. I mean, Madison's good every year. Northwest Rankin, they're going to be solid. Coach KK Aldridge told me that he actually really likes his team. And then we talk about Lewisburg, Tupelo. Man, 7A is wide open. And then Purvis Summerall, I hope that's the state championship. I really do, because that's just going to be a wonderful battle between those two rivals. What's interesting, before I let you guys go, you see Tupelo right here. Is any school having a better year than Tupelo this year? I mean, in all seriousness, the girls' basketball team wins, their football team wins, and then they could possibly win 7A baseball. I don't think anyone's actually having a better year than them. So, very impressive. I mean, again, Tupelo. I mean, they're not going to win the All School Award, but they pretty much could. All right, I'm going to stop sharing for just a moment. Please, guys, I can't stress this enough. Please go in the chat. Do you like this stuff? Do you like these nightly recaps? Is this something you guys would like to see? Maybe just talk about what went on that day. Whether we don't need to talk about the classifications, the football, and all that every single time. But would it make sense to have a high school football, high school baseball, high school softball, and talk about it for 30 minutes every single night? Please reach out. I think it would be really interesting if we started doing this on a nightly basis. I enjoyed it. Now, would I like Rion to not ghost me? Yeah, that would be great. Because you know what, Rion's a good guy. He wants to add stuff into this. So, thank you guys for joining us tonight. I really appreciate it. We do a little 25-minute show, and you know what? We had like 100 people on Twitter. Had about 30 to 40 on Facebook any given time. So, good first effort. But we're gonna try to do this at least weekly, and we may do this a couple times. Send in the chat, please. Again, I can't stress this enough. Put in the chat what you want to see. What do you want more of? Because then I can do a little more research on it. I know football more than anything, then basketball, then baseball. I'm trying to catch up on the baseball. I mean, we just had the Coliseum and all that kind of stuff, right? I mean, everything mashes together, and then all of a sudden we'll be in football, and then volleyball we'll be playing at Mississippi College. And you're like, whoa, okay, where did the year go? Which, by the way, we're in March. Can you believe that? Can you believe that we're in March? I mean, we're already, let's see, over. What's 1 divided by 6? See, this is why I do this instead of doing math. But anyways, please let me know if this makes sense for you guys. I'd love to start doing this with you more. Again, have a good night, and I'll let you guys know when we're going to do our next live stream.